Many great artists have convinced us to live authentically, but they don't know what life is really like for young people. We have to develop our personalities, overcome our insecurities, and somehow figure out a way to fit into the huge world of life. While artists get to live on the outskirts, away from alienation, and preach to the rest of us, we're lost, and the authenticity advice is only making our lives worse. What we don't understand is that authenticity is meant to be treated like a battery. We must step away from the world, recharge, and pay homage to our own identities before we come back and give the best performance of our lives. Most of us are living lives and going after goals that aren't our own. We struggle, burn out, and fight for the dreams of other people, and even sacrifice things from our lives for their desires. We never had a chance to breathe, to step away from the world and gather our opinions of ourselves. We were never taught to learn our nuances, the hidden skills we have, and the flaws that can be turned into weapons. And because of it, we enter the world and start our professional lives on the wrong foot. We start out wrong, and before we know it, years pass by. We can never go back and change how it started, so eventually what must happen is a phase of indulgence, a phase of learning who you are, a phase of authenticity.
Does that encapsulate you? Personally, I don't give a shit about all that, because you know what? I can't learn anything from you. I can't read in some f***ing book. Unless you want to talk about you, who you are. But you don't want to do that, do you, sport? You're terrified of what you might say.
In this fog of authenticity is the truth that we've neglected. It is oftentimes when we are least ourselves, the times when we step out of our comfort zones, that add new layers to us. The gym bro who's a nerd, the artist who hates his work, the idiot who is unthinkably smart. It is these paradoxes that keep us captivated, which is exactly why artists have entranced the world with this philosophy. Alienation is what allows us to see the places in the world we truly belong. It allows us to see the gifts we do have, rather than the gifts and situations we're trying to force on ourselves. But when we're in the middle of this process, we don't often realize that it's just that, a process. We filter life through this lens of authenticity, judging others who are in jobs they don't like, doing things they don't want to, hanging out with people that are bad for them. But here, we don't get to see the beauty that these things seen as self-sacrifice have. These are the defining moments in our lives. The periods where we aren't ourselves are the times where we find the edge, the very things that make us stand out in the world. And this is the situation we're really in. Because of the things in our lives that aren't authentically us, we have learned new skills, but now we must step away and reflect.
Again.
Look at me. What do you want to do? You and your book. You got a book answer for everybody. But I ask you a very simple question, and you can't give me a straight answer. Because you don't know.
It is at this moment when we have discovered a new part of ourselves that we have to confront the core of our being. Not saying that there is a core, but simply the parts of ourselves we have ignored in the process of adventure. Quitting that job we hate, finally graduating from school, finishing that project you've been working on. All of these situations give us a unique empty period to reflect and recenter. This period allows us to step away from the world and its chaos and forge our new personalities and identities.
The more you know who you are and what you want, the less you let things upset you.
This can be seen as a period of indulgence, a time of going back to the things you did as a kid, using time travel to make yourself content again. It gives you life. And sure, it's an overcorrection, but it's something that needs to happen in order to find your sense of self. Today, the world moves so fast thanks to things like the internet and frankly just our work culture of speed that we often miss out on this period of gaining depth and self-awareness, which again is why it is a part of our mainstream ideology. People try to or do achieve success before they're ready. They move on to new things before they process the old and go faster than the lessons they should have learned from their mistakes. We force ourselves into periods of inauthenticity because it makes us perform better. These big mistakes give us a contrast to understand the depths of life, but also the negative forces pressuring us to work faster than we possibly can. We can finally see it. This is also a time of learning and discovery, actually finding the new places in the world you could fit into, learning the parts of yourself that need to be reintroduced or even discarded, understanding the things that were holding you back and learning how to use them for your own progression. Here, we are forced to learn nuance, simply because there's nothing else to do. You're bored, so all the unprocessed thoughts that you've never analyzed come back to the surface. This might just happen unconsciously, but either way, it happens. And over time, you and your body are able to come back to the middle. Near the end of this phase, you finally get tired of being bored. You've had enough fun, enough indulging, and you are ready to enter back into the world authentically. It might have been years, months, or even just a week, but now it's time to give the best performance of your life so far. This is how we should have started, finding our own space in the world that we truly belong. Some place where we can operate authentically that also challenges us. But without the lesson in the first place, we would have never been able to understand this for ourselves.
Chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Entering back into the world is a big struggle. You first had to master yourself and your desires, but now you are ready to take on a new challenge that is interesting to you, but also rewarding. This is the time you get to capitalize on all the self-discovery you just did, and it will probably take you further than you ever have before. It is at this final phase where you can enter back into the real world on your own terms. You control the way you are alienated, you choose your sacrifice. This is often the hardest thing to do, simply because of the confidence you have to have in yourself that you deserve what you really want. For one, you've had to learn the skills to make it this far. And two, you actually have to have the self-knowledge to even find the place in the world where you belong. For most, even for the artists and people at the top, it's simply luck. But without a courage to enter this realm where you don't even know if you'll make it, without the courage to make the full leap and commit to the process towards your goals, it will all be for nothing. Because no matter if you achieved your goals or not, you still wouldn't have been able to become the person you wanted to in the first place. Without that courage, the person that the journey would have made you into would be gone forever. And the only thing left to do now is wait for the next opportunity to present itself. That's what I've had to do plenty of times, and because of it, I'm able to understand this process. But unfortunately, it has wasted a lot of time. A perfect mixture of alienation and our own identities or taste is key to success and invention and fulfillment. For me, an environment that allows me to play with the fluidity of authenticity is key. Something where I can just show up and be completely myself and do whatever I want when I need, but also something that can require me to alienate myself to raise my standards and make better work. A phase of authenticity can change your life. So many of us are alienated and pursuing lives we have no business being in. When we finally decide to step back, reorient ourselves and our identities in the right direction is when we can finally operate truly in the real world. A mix of our own taste, desires, and the world's challenges and deadlocks.